Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. You're watching Indigo Tech Tutorials, and in this video we're going to continue on the series where we're building TikTok with Ruby on Rails. So the last video that I dropped, we just did like some more improvements. I actually created the algorithm which allows you to watch the posts until you've already seen them all, and then it just says like no more posts to watch. So in this video I wanted to go through and add some further improvements to make this website even better and more closely to how TikTok is. Because if you guys don't know, I mean, of course you know, TikTok is probably the most popular app in the whole world at this point. Like, there's nothing else that's more popular, in my opinion, especially for the new generation. Everybody knows TikTok. So what I'm going to do is, let's actually sign out here. I want to get a new account just so I can see the posts, because I've already viewed all the posts on that account. So I'm going to create a new user account. Let's do this. And also, I saw all your guys' comments. I appreciate you all for commenting, leaving your feedback. Please, if you have any ideas, then let me know. You actually have to be careful because as you view these, we're not going to be able to see them again as we scroll. That's kind of how the app works right now, which I guess it's a feature. So yeah, I'm going to think about what I want to do next. Of course, there's a lot of things that we could do. I think right away, this top right corner, that's getting really bloated with all these buttons. So right away, putting a drop down would be a huge user experience improvement. And at least we could hide away the sign out link into the drop down. So let's go ahead and do that first, actually. So to add a drop down, let's head over to the Views Layouts navbar. And right inside of here, we just have all of our content kind of displaying right here in the navbar. And what we want to do instead is, create a drop down that would hide some of this content. So what I'll do is maybe I'll leave the create post, because I know on TikTok they like to put for creating a post, since that's like the most crucial feature in the app, it might be nice to have this out in the navbar, but then on mobile, if it takes up too much space, we'd probably hide it. Like, we could do some UI magic like that. So what I'll do is I'll leave the create post out, and I'm going to create another wrapper around these two elements. So the username and the sign out link. We're going to add a div, close that off, and all I'm going to put here really is just the relative class, but I'm also going to stick the drop-down stimulus controller on this, which I don't think we have one yet. This is a new app. Let's go ahead and create that stimulus controller. So I'm going to go in the console real quick, run a railsg stimulus drop-down. This is going to create the drop-down controller. Then we can restart the server. That's all I really needed to do. Now I'm going to connect the drop-down controller to the div by adding a data controller equals drop-down, just like that. And then what we can do is on the span with the username, I'm going to add a data action, which will say whenever you click on this span, we're going to trigger a function on the drop-down controller. We could just call this toggle. Now we're going to create the drop-down menu will display when you click on it, and we can wrap this sign out link in another div, which will be the drop-down menu. So I'm going to create this div, and I'm going to add some styling. Might just be like a little bit of padding, and we can add some width, some height, maybe even a background color. And then of course the important thing about the drop-down menu is we're going to have the absolute class, so it's going to appear on top of the other elements. We can do absolute 0, top 0, and let's do right 0. And then let's just go back to the browser and see how that looks. So if we reload, right away we get this little pop-up menu, and we have the sign out link, which is kind of like way at the top, which is weird. But probably want to put that down at the bottom. So we can actually do that with margin. So first of all, I'm going to add the flex call class onto the drop-down menu. And then for the sign out link, I'll just use margin to position it at the bottom right corner. So we do empty auto, ml auto. Come back in here, and boom, we have it at the bottom right corner. Now I kind of want to make it, I want to position it lower than the rest of the content, because right now it's overflowing on all of it, or it's like overlapping. So what we'll do is I'm going to edit the top 0. Top 0 means it'll be at the very topmost point. So all I have to do is to add some padding, we can say like top 10, and boom, just like that, it positions it down below. And then finally, we would have this hidden by default. So I'm going to add hidden class, and now it doesn't show up. And then what we do is when you click on the username, it would pop open the drop down menu, which right now we can't even tell that the span is clickable. So it might be a good idea to add a cursor pointer class, which means when you hover on the link, you'd be able to see that it's a drop down. And boom, check it out. While I've been doing all these UI changes, we just ran out of posts to watch. I wasn't even viewing them. So that is kind of funny. So now this is clickable, but it's not triggering, it's not doing anything. And I think if we even look in the console, there might be an error. Console, yeah, check it out, there is an error. So it's saying undefined method toggle because it's trying to execute this method that we defined, or that we said, like we said on click, it should run the toggle method, but there's no toggle method on the controller. So that's what we'll do, but real quick, I'm going to add a target for the menu so that we can reference this menu from the JavaScript. I'm going to add data-dropdown target, and I'm just going to set this to menu. Now let's head over to the app JavaScript controllers and go to our new dropdown controller. And really what I'm going to do is I'm going to first define the targets by saying static targets equals an array, which we're going to have the menu target. And then we can rename connect to toggle. We can pass in the event, and I'm going to prevent the default just in case, which means if you did toggle from, let's say, a link, it would prevent that link from actually triggering a page update, which is probably not something that you'd want, because usually, like, it just depends if you're using a link. I'm using a span, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to do that anyways. And all we have to do is just say this.menu_target.ClassList.toggle at hidden class. And that's really as simple as it is to do a dropdown, just like that. So now you come up here, click on the username, boom, you get a nice dropdown. And we could, of course, put any other links that we want to have inside that dropdown. Like probably a link to settings would be a good thing to add. And on mobile, I mean, I don't really see any problems, but if we wanted to, let's say, hide this link, we could do that. But I don't really think there's that much of an issue. I know on TikTok, I think they just have like a big icon, a big video icon. So maybe we could do that too. We go to hero icons and look for like video. There's totally a video thing right here for a camera. Maybe we'll do that because I love adding those little icon decorations. Let's go up to that link to create post. I'm gonna actually get rid of the text here, and instead I'll pass a block by saying do, and then inside of it, put our icon, and then I'll probably just have a span for the text if we want to show that. Say like maybe upload video. That's really what TikTok is about. It's about the videos. All right, everything, I think it looks good. You can set a width on this icon, maybe width 8. And let's take a look. All right, so we do get it to show up, but now it's kind of like the icon is on top, so it messes with the padding. So we actually need to add a flex class to the link. Say flex item center gap 4. And boom, that's already a little bit better, although we could reduce that gap to like a gap 2, I think. Boom. That's pretty good. Although ultimately we might not even need the text there. Or at least we can make it bold or something so it doesn't look so random. Say, how about font semi-bold? And we could even add a hover effect. What I'm thinking is that when you hover on it, I usually make it larger, but what if we make it smaller this time? Because the link's already kind of big. We could say hover scale 95, so it's actually gonna increase. I like that. You click upload video and boom, you're on this page to create a new post. Now this form page, this is really pretty ugly at this point. So I already got a comment asking, would it be possible to have like a loader as you upload the video? And yes, that would totally be possible. That's actually something that we should do to make this experience better. And on top of that, having a preview of the video. So once you upload your video, if you want to preview it and make sure you put the right one, that's something that we could do on top of that to make it even better. But for right now, what I want to do, I don't know. I mean, we just did that drop-down upgrade, navbar upgrade. You know what I'll do? Let's hide the text on mobile for that link. So right here we have upload video. That text can take up a lot of space. So why don't we just totally remove the text on mobile by adding a hidden class by default, and then medium, let's do an inline block. See, on mobile, it'd just be like a little video icon. We could even make it rounded full on mobile. So we could say rounded full. On medium, it's rounded large. And boom, now we have this nice rounded effect. but then on larger screen, it's like the whole button. So right off the bat, this is looking pretty clean, and you still have your drop down right here. So actually, it would be sick if we could have like a ton of records in here. So one guy was saying that it would be nice if I could show you how to seed the database. But my biggest problem is I don't have enough shorts. So right here I made a folder of all these shorts that I kind of like did myself. I didn't really record them, but I edited them into the right format. But if we could get somehow like a whole folder of videos where we have like 1,000 videos, then we could totally try to seed the database. And I already said it might be easy enough to try to scrape TikTok. So I'm gonna go to TikTok. I haven't went there yet. I'm probably gonna regret this. Yeah, like there's a lot of gross stuff on TikTok, if we're being real. And now that I see like their web UI is kind of different, but then once you go to like the feed page, this is what it looks like. And I thought they had a navbar. I guess they don't. They put all the stuff on the side. I don't really care. I'm gonna leave the navbar. But the most important thing is the video. That's what I wanted to see. So they're totally not doing default. Like you see on our app, but we can't even see it because we've already watched all the videos. Let me upload some videos then. I just wish I had more, but I guess it's fine. Yeah, like honestly, who cares if it's a different video? We've already built the feature. So one thing I was thinking is like I don't want to have just like 1,000 of the same videos. But to be honest, that's probably how TikTok works anyways. Like people love posting the same exact video and just copying. So yeah, I guess I shouldn't worry about that. Why don't we seed the database with our videos that we already have? We'll just take one of them and I'll create like 1,000 posts. All right, let's do that. So to seed our database, they're actually if you go in your app and you go to the dbseeds.rb, there is a seeds file, which would help you, I guess, create records for a new app. And all you have to do is run this bin/rails dbseed. So we could totally do this here. So if I just said like 1,000 times 2, and then inside of here, let's say I create well, first we're gonna need a user. So let's create a user. Oh, actually, let's do that out of the block. Let's do a user equals user find or create by. We'll find or create them by, do username, they go test, and you also need email. Now, I don't know if we can even put the password because the password doesn't really affect. I don't know if you can do that in find or create by. But anyways, we could. All right. Let's just go for it and see if we get an error. So this would create a user or hopefully find one. And once we have that user, we can go inside the block and we can create. Didn't we call it a post? Yeah, we called it a post. So user.post create. The caption, why don't I pass in the end just so we can use that number? And I'll say like test TikTok post. I'll put in the number, description, seeded TikTok data. And then lastly, we need that file. So why don't we store post as a variable? So what would happen is we'd create that post, and then we're going to need to attach the video. So we'd say something like post video attach, and then pass in some, file and a file name. Or yeah, so ultimately, I don't think it matters where we stick this file. It's just a temporary file. I'm just trying to think, where do people normally put this, like a test? I might just stick it in the test folder, because it is kind of test data. I'm gonna create a folder in there called videos. And drag in my video, dog short. I'm gonna rename this to dog short. So now we should be able to access that file by passing in the full URL. So let's just say test file path equals, we're going to use the Rails root join with the test folder. We could actually do this all in one string. We could just say test /videos /dog short.mov. And then what we do is we open that file. Then we're going to do a block. We can pass a local file, which is the file that has already been opened. And then you take this and you put it right in the IO, and it should work. Good. So actually this right here should work. Let's see. Maybe let's start at 100 instead of 1,000, because that 1,000 might take a long time. All right. So now to test this out, we can just go into the terminal. Let's stop it for a second, and then we can run a Rails DB seed command. And right away we get an error. It says undefined column, the user password doesn't exist. And that's because the password field, I'm pretty sure, is just a virtual attribute. So we did get the error right here, like I said. The problem is that when you say find or create by, it's going to first run a query. And because password field doesn't exist, that's why we're getting the error. So I think we actually want to do something like, I think there's a method called find or initialize by. Find or initialize, but that might not even be a good thing. I think let's do user. We can always say like user. So we'll try to find the user first, and then we could say if not user. And we just redefine it by doing create, and we can then pass in a password. I think that should work. See, it's going to try to find it first. If it doesn't find it, it creates it. Let's see. Let's do Rails DB seed one more time. And we do get an error. It says inside of the IO open. So I'm pretty sure right here, when we're attaching it, it's saying that it doesn't like how we are passing in the local file. And I'm wondering, maybe because we're doing this in a loop, maybe like the file has expired or something. So we could also just do this in line. Wait, actually, why did I do a block? Now that I think about this, we can get rid of that block for opening the file, and then inside of here, we can just open it and read it. And I think it might like that more. Let's see. No, it doesn't like that. It says IO must be rewindable. So I don't think it likes the read. Let's do it without the read. Come on, come on. Oh, no error. So it may just be going through and creating the post. I'm gonna open up another console. Let's do post.count. We got 84, we got 80. Okay, yeah, it's definitely running. Check that out. Hey. If we go back, I think it's done now. Except for we get an error now, it's no file. Okay, that doesn't really matter because that totally did work. Now we have 100 posts, even though they're all the same dog post. We go back and reload. Check it out, test TikTok post 68. Alright, so back to the video. Now that we have all of this seed data, which is incredible, we could probably work on some more features. So like we just saw when I went to the real TikTok page, although I'm scared to go there. So check it out. This is what it kind of looks like. We have, first of all, a custom video player. If you go back to ours, it looks similar, but you have like all this kind of stuff that TikTok doesn't really have. It's not bad though. The default video player is really not bad. But we could customize that potentially. I don't really think that that's the first thing that we have to do because it's really not terrible. But if you look on the right side, they have all of these buttons, which I think one thing is to like. If I want to like a post, that might be something that we want to handle right away because that would be fun. Now, as far as positioning, we could totally stick it on the right side. Even if you notice, there's like the video player looks like it extends a little bit more than the actual video. We could probably fix that too. So let's go over to the app views feed show page. All right, this is what it looks like on the show page. That's not really where I was going. We want to go to the underscore post partial and take a look at this. So we have this width full on the video, and that's what's happening is the video itself is probably smaller than that 40 view width. So we could probably reduce that. That's one way to do that. So if we go like 30 view width, now, I mean, yeah, the controls definitely don't overflow at all. Doesn't look bad. I mean, it does, it might overflow on smaller screens. It's not really a big deal. And then what we do is we could have the buttons on the right side. Like this is already looking pretty clean. And I wonder, where do they put the caption? It looks like, oh, they overlay the caption on the video. So that's probably a good idea. We could actually do this right now, even with the default video. So what we'll do is like reload. This is kind of the vibe. There's a little bit of some padding at the top, which I want to see where that's happening. Oh, check it out. So on the feed show page, we have this PY4. For whatever reason, we added that. I don't think we really need it. Although getting rid of it didn't really change things. I wonder why. Back on the post, is there any sort of margin here? Oh, we're doing justify center item center, which means it would try to put everything into the exact center. So I think we can get rid of justify center, and it should, nope, it's still the same thing. Funny. Also, there's a weird thing where on like one of these type of screens, it just totally gets messed up. So I think that's because of our width, 30 view width. That 30 view width, I think, is messing things up. So we could actually just like remove that and see what it does. But then the video actually goes like the full width. The video controls, which is not really what we want. So I'm going to stick it back. We could always work on the exact sizing, because I think like something happens here. This is like the medium screen, and it just totally kind of breaks. What if well, we do have the breakpoint at large. What if I change it to medium? No, there's still kind of like a thing where it's not really right. So maybe I increase it to 2XL. But then we get the control thing where the controls are at the bottom until you go to larger screens. So there's some stuff to figure out with that. I'd appreciate any of your guys' thoughts on how we could fix this. I am confused why there's like this little bit of gap at the top, which I want to get rid of, but also it's not terrible. Like, I don't really care that much. Really, I think what we should focus on is putting the text on top of the video, like layering it. We could stick it at the bottom, although I kind of feel like it might be intuitive just to stick it at the top. Maybe that's just me. So what we can do is let's go inside of this video tag section. So where we're checking if the video is attached. In the other case, we're just saying like no video was found. So most of our code would be inside this block anyways. So what I'll do is I'm just going to wrap this with a div. Let's do like the width full, height full, of course. And most importantly, we're going to put the relative class, which will scope any absolute elements inside of it to just be relative to this div. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick another, well, really, we had that span. I don't know what happened to it. I kind of lost it, but we could just do a span. Make this absolute. And then I said I want to stick it in the top left corner. So top left. Do top 0, left 0. And end out the span. We could even do a div. I don't know if it's better to do a div or a span. I think it's exactly the same thing. So let's put post.caption. And see if that comes through. So it does show up, but for whatever reason, it's on top of the video. Oh, and one thing I just realized, check it out. You can click up here, you know where I was saying the padding? That's actually part of the video controls, which that tells me a lot about what I was thinking about. So what's happening is the video is taking up the full height and the full width, but that just means that it's taking up the full screen, and there's basically enough padding where the video is not fitting. So I know there's something that we could do, like a 16:9 resolution, tailwind, aspect ratio. There's something like this. Aspect video 16:9. Although I want to do the opposite. Why there's no like, they don't tell me. Oh, you can do aspect 3 to, okay, I see. So let's say we go to the video and I add, instead of like width full, height full, if I say aspect, I want to go 9:16. Interesting. Yo, it totally works, guys. So it would, fit the resolution. I think that works great. On mobile, it still works great. Okay, cool, we got it. And then we could totally decide, do we want the text up here, or do we want it at the bottom? Because now it seems to fit really well, now that I did that improvement. So check it out. No width, height full on this, just aspect 9:16, and it seems to work great. Now if we wanted to put our text at the bottom instead of the top, which now I kind of do see why I might want to do that, we could, why don't we just make a new div for all of our absolute content. We could put the absolute here. Instead of top 0, we'll do bottom 0. Although bottom 0, I think it would overflow with our controls. So if we reload, oh wait, that totally messed up things. That was weird. Oh, I forgot to end the div. It's my fault. Yeah, if we reload, our video is still looking straight, but for whatever reason now, we have the text is way down here. It's not even on the video. So I think that's because on this element, we're doing like the height full relative, or basically the height full, which means it's taking up the full height of whatever its parent is, which if we look at it, it's height screen, even though our video isn't going to height screen. So I might just remove the height full. And what does that do? Now I can't see it at all. That's crazy. So that did not work very well. So we can put back height full, but now it's like there's a little bit of extra space. Maybe we just do height. We do a fixed height, although it's not really good to have your whole app using fixed heights everywhere, because then if there's any sort of like glitch on mobile, it can get really confusing. For example, right here, where like the video is kind of way too large on this sort of screen, which is like an iPad. And then also here, look, there's like a weird glitch for a second. Yeah, okay, yeah, there's so many glitches here with this. We're gonna have to figure that out. So I'm gonna not do the fixed height. Let's try to find another way around this. But this time the video didn't even work. It's tricky right here. Just weird. Height screen, I would think that height screen, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a background color on this top level div, I guess, and see how much it's actually taking. So yeah, look, there's like this little bit of space at the bottom that it's taking up, which, I mean, that's not that bad, right? I think we can work around this as long as the rest of the screens, but look, here's the problem though. As we like zoom, as we go in, because we're using that width of 30 view height, the video gets smaller as you reduce the whole screen. So we definitely need to make a change here. So let's just get rid of that. And one idea I just had, you know how we're switching from like width full to like fixed height? What I usually would do for something like that is I would just have a max width. So whatever is the largest potential width that video could have, we could put that right here. Which I wonder, like, what is the size for a 16:9 video? What is the width for a 16 or for a 9:16 video? Check it out. It would be, I think the width would be 1080. So potentially we could just say that the max width is 1080 pixels. Hypothetically, that would work, right? Although this is what 1080 pixels looks like. I don't think that's right. We could do something else. So how about max width 2XL? I mean, it does kind of like stay more consistent between the screens. That's all I was going for, is I want consistency. But at the same time, the video is like almost too big. So all we have to do is just reduce that. Let's try max width XL. See how that looks. Actually, it didn't notice any difference there. How about max width large? All right, there we go. I think that might be good. And then check it out. As you resize, there's no difference in the width. It actually is perfect all the way. It's fire. It's a really good setup. So now I can just get rid of this BG Indigo. Actually, you know what? Let's leave that and let's try to mess around with the height screen. Why do we even have height screen? Why don't we just have height full? Oh, look at that. Now it actually does take up the full height. So that doesn't even work either. But I think if we add margin bottom, usually I'll add margin bottom and it should get rid of any overflowing content that's not being used. But that didn't work either. So I wonder if on the parent element we need to add something. So on the parent element we have like this height 125 view height. And I think I did that to make the scrolling work. But what happens if we just remove that? Hey, I think it works pretty well. The only thing is that now the scrolling, yeah, like it doesn't overflow. So we don't get the event which is supposed to reload the page. So you kind of do need a fixed height, but maybe I could just do height screen on this. No, it doesn't like that either. About height full. Again, doesn't like it. What if I do height screen on the div and then height 80 view height 80 view height on the page? Okay, it works, but no, this UI is so weird. Let's not do that. Let's just go back to how it was, I guess. It really wasn't that bad. The only thing is you have like this overflow at the bottom. I mean, I don't hate it. If we wanted to go back to our height screen on this page, you at least get a little bit less. And then what I would probably do is I would just change the bottom value to position where our absolute content is, and I would just factor in this bottom part. So why don't we just try like bottom 24, see where it ends up. So it ends up right behind our controls. We probably want to bring that up even more. Let's try 36. And yeah, that's actually not bad right here. I think that's pretty good. And then we could basically just inside of here, we could add any classes that we want, like some padding, push it out from the left. And then lastly, I'm going to remove that indigo background color. We don't need that on this page. And boom, we have the text here. Although it's kind of hard to see. Let's see how they do it on TikTok. It's basically just the same thing. I don't know how they would get it to stick out from the background if it was like a white video. Maybe they don't though. Maybe they don't even handle that. Look, because it's always the same color. So I don't even think we have to worry about that type of stuff. Just leave it like this. I think that's pretty good. And then obviously if you had a darker background on your video, it would show up a little bit nicer. Yeah, I think even if we put any videos, because we have like 100 of these dog videos, it's just gonna keep showing me these. And that's kind of what I was worried about, but it's not a big deal. All right, real quick. One thing that I'm noticing is the video is overlapping on the navbar, which is kind of annoying me. Because look, when we scroll, like sometimes it goes under, sometimes it goes over. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like a fun game, but that's not really how you want your UI to be. So what we can do is let's go to that navbar partial. So we go views, layouts, navbar. And we just have to add a Z index to the navbar to tell it that it's supposed to be. I think the navbar would always be over all the other elements. So we could put some crazy number here, like 1000. Now the navbar should every time go over all the other elements. Right away, that works pretty good. And then boom, we have the title. I think another thing we'd want to do is put who posted it. Of course, that's a pretty big feature in TikTok. So let's go to the feed, post partial. And because we have this div that was wrapping it, it's really easy if we wanted to add more content. I'll just copy this span, put it on top, and we can do post.user.username. And then on this div, instead of doing flex, we'll still do flex, but we'll also add flex call. We could do a gap too. And boom, now you have the username, and you also have the name of the TikTok. It's pretty cool. Although we could probably, I mean, gap 2, I'll do gap 1, why not? Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's see, how does TikTok do it again? out of here. Look, the funny thing about TikTok is sometimes they support larger videos too on desktop. But I mean, it's really simple. Like TikTok doesn't do much here. I think we basically nailed it. The only thing might just be, well, obviously they have a custom control. Right now we have kind of these controls that like have all the buttons, which is actually, this is good. The only thing that might not be good is like there's a download button, but I think TikTok does have a download button. They just kind of customized it more. So this is actually really incredible, guys. Now we could just think like, what do we want to add next? You know, what's the next feature we want to add? All right, so the next thing I'm going to add, which will probably just end off this video, is I'm going to add the like button. That's a huge thing I wanted to add. I think that just makes it even better because then you can decide, you know, if you like a post, click that like button, just like you guys should click the like button on this video. Okay, I had to do it. But yeah, let's add this like feature. So we could probably decide like where do we want to start? We could start in the back end or we could start in the front end. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start on the front end first. So let's add like the link here and then we'll implement the back end from there. So I'm gonna start off by finding a cool icon. Let's go over to heroicons.com, which is where I always go. Of course, you guys know that. And right away, there's a heart icon right here. So I'm gonna copy that SVG, clicking that copy button, and then we're gonna shove this into our app. So of course you saw TikTok does the buttons on the right side. I don't really know if I like that per se. I would kind of like to just overflow it or overlay it on the video, maybe just like on the right side next to, you know, these titles. So what we'll do is this is our bar for like overlaid our video kind of buttons are right here. And we did put the flex call class on this upper level div, which now because we're going to have items on the left and the right, we actually do want to just go back to flex. And what we'll do instead is we'll do flex with the justify between. So it's going to push the elements on the left to the left side and on the right to the right side. And I'll just put another div to wrap, you know, the username and the title or the caption. So we'll put one div here, and then we can add back flex call gap stuff. This will be the left content, and then the right content will be right here, which will just be our heart icon, and then possibly other stuff in the future. So I'm going to put a div here, and then just drop in this SVG for the heart, and let's do width 10, and I'll probably actually wrap this in a link 2, and I'll just put a placeholder for now, so I'll do the £, but we will update that once we add in the backend code to handle liking. So right off the bat, this is kind of what it looks like. We get the heart icon. Now one thing I'm noticing is that it's only the outline. So I'm going to go back to Hero Icons. I think they have options for outline, solid, mini, micro. So that's something that you should probably look into too. That's funny. I think I mostly use the outline, but there's definitely times where you'd rather just do a solid or even like a smaller icon. So I think I want solid instead of outline. I'm gonna drop this in, and it looks like it's gonna default to a black color. So I'll probably add, I'll go like a light gray, PG gray 100. Look, no, that was wrong. It actually added a background color around the icon. So I think you'd still do the text gray 100 for coloring. There we go. That works pretty well. Although if you wanted an outline, actually I'm pretty sure you could use outline and then fill the inner content with fill. So that might even be better now that I think about it. Let's put back the outline. And we'll do the same width, of course, width 10. And I'm gonna try to do fill gray 100. Boom, yeah, now we get this nice like outline with the fill. That looks pretty sweet. The only weird thing is that why is it right here? I thought I said justify between. That's funny. So I think the problem might just be the width. It doesn't have width full on it. Let's go ahead and add width full. Reload, and boom. Right off the bat, this is pretty sweet. So now we have this, you know, heart icon. It is hovering a bit high. I feel like we could put that down a little bit. So maybe on this div, we can just say flex items end. which would shove it down a little bit. All right, I think I like that. Now we can add a little hover effect on this link. So I'll just put this right on the link too. Say hover scale 105. Come on, although it's not showing up. Interesting. Maybe I'll stick it on the SVG. No, it's not showing up. Yo, guys, so I think we just discovered an issue. I was wondering because it looked like the controls were going on top of the content, and yeah, that's totally what's happening. I think the controls, even like the whole thing, like see how you can click anywhere in the video? It's overlaying our text and our button, so we're not going to be able to click that button. Ooh, that's not good. And why is that happening? I almost wonder, is it because we put the video second and the div first? That's always a possibility. So I might just go here, move it down so that the video is first and the icons are second. Let's see, does that change? Guys, that changes everything. Isn't that funny? There's like these small little things that you learn. That's hilarious to me, actually. So even though it makes no sense, we're still doing absolute. Putting the video first solves like all of these issues. Crazy. All right, so now what we do is we'd handle creating the like for the post, of course. So probably we could decide what we're gonna do first, but what we're gonna need for sure is a controller to handle creating and then deleting a like. We're also gonna need a model to store that information, you know, a like being created, a like being deleted. So we could choose what we want to start with. I'm probably gonna just go for the controller first, and then we could do model second. So we're gonna need to create a controller somewhere for handling these likes, and I'll probably just build this manually. So let's start off by going to the app controllers folder, and I'm going to create a new folder called posts because I'm going to want to namespace the likes inside of a post. So inside the post folder in the controllers, we're going to create a new file, and I'll just simply call this the likes controller.rb. Then we're going to need a module of posts because we're going to have that namespace, and then we'll have a likes controller, which will inherit from the application controller. And then inside of here, we could have a create. So start with create, so you can create a like. So basically what would happen, we'd say something like current user.likes, or actually we'd probably find the post first. So it'd be like post equals post.find params post ID. And then we could create the user, or we could create the like off the post. So we could say post.likes.create. And then just pass in the user ID, current user.id. And then, of course, you know, update the UI, the turbo stream, something like that. And this would work. Now we just have to define the route. I'm going to go to the config routes.rb, and we're going to need to define a route in here. So what I'll do is I'll go up to this line that's setting the resources posts, and I'm going to add a block by saying do. And then I'm going to add a namespace with the module. So we're going to say scope module posts. That's something that you also have to do because if you put your routes inside of this resource, the URL would be namespaced, but the controller would still look for a controller outside of the post namespace. So you actually have to add like the scope module to get it to work correctly with our setup. And then inside of it, we could add the resources for likes. And for right now, we only have a create action. And boom, just like that, we have our URLs defined. So we should be able to go back to the underscore post partial and update this link to use the correct URL. It should be something like post likes path. And then we pass in the post like this. And if we reload and there's no error, that means it's actually working, guys. That's crazy. And of course, because we're using a create action, it's going to expect a post request, but a link by default is a get request. So all we have to do is add a data and then a turbo method key and make it do a post request. So now we should be able to click it and boom, we actually get an error, which is good because we haven't defined a like model yet. So it's saying undefined method likes for an instance of post. So boom, that moves on to the next step where we create the like model. So let's go into the terminal and we're gonna run a railsg model command. And we're gonna do a post slash like. Of course, a post is gonna, or no, a like is going to belong to a post. So we'll say post colon belongs to. It's also going to belong to a user, so we can say user colon belongs to. And that's really all the information the like will have. And oh, again, it's going to ask if you want to override post. No, don't override post. And we're going to do railsdb migrate, and we now have post likes table. So finally, we have to set up that association like always. So let's go over to the models and take a look. So we have the post folder still. We now have a like.rb model file. The like belongs to post. It also belongs to user. So if we go over to the post model, let's set up the association. Say has many likes. And of course, we need to set the class name because we namespaced it. So it'd be post colon like this. And then we can basically just copy this code and drop it on the user model as well. Has many likes with the correct class name. And that should fix really everything. So now if we go to likes controller, one thing we might want to handle is right now we're creating the like every time. But since we do have like the user ID, we could just change this to a find or create by, which means if there was an accident where like you posted to the controller twice, like a guy spammed the button, it wouldn't actually create two like models, which that could cause issues when they go to unlike and then it's still liked and they're like, what the heck? Why is it still liked? So we could do find or create by to totally get rid of any potential bugs. And the last thing is just updating the UI, which we haven't even handled that yet. Let's take a look. So if I click like the post, there was no errors. If we go to terminal, we actually just liked the post. That's insane. Now we just have to update the UI to tell if a user has liked the post or not. So what I'll do is I'll go to the views, feed post partial, and we're gonna want to stick, I guess we're gonna want to stick this like button into a partial itself. I'll extract this, and instead of like, now we'll just render a partial, be like, and then we can pass it the post, be post. Let's also pass in the user, be current user. And then we can go over to the feed, and we're going to create that new underscore like.html.erb file. And then what we'll do is we'll have a condition here where we can check if a user has liked a post or not. So to do that, we can say if current user.likes.where post ID is the post. Actually, instead of doing where will return an array. We could also do find by, which will only return 1, and if it doesn't find it, it returns nil. So now we could accurately check if we have found one, and we can even store this if we want to, although I don't know if we need to. Yeah, I really don't think we do. So that's the case that we do have a like, else we just show the regular like button. So in the case that we do have a like, it would be slightly different, where we can basically copy the same code, but now instead of having the fill gray 100, we can do like the red 500, which is standard for the heart. And then as far as the link to, instead of posting to post likes, we're going to want to delete the like. So we can actually post to post underscore like, and then you have to pass in the like ID. Although, like I said, I don't really know if that's that important, so I might just pass in post again. Like, we could totally do this. We could just say like equals. I guess why not, right? So we define our like right here if it is. Otherwise, it's just going to go back to the else code. And then in the link to, we're going to post to that path, and it will include the like ID. Now, oh, and then the data turbo method, instead of post, it would be a delete request. And we're also going to have to update the routes, because if we go back to config routes.rb, we had only defined a create route. So we also need to define the destroy route, which that's the route that they call it, or that's like the standard method for deleting items. They call it destroy. I mean, it's kind of, it's a good word. Instead of like delete, they call it just destroy. I don't really know why they do that. You know, it's a powerful word, or a powerful word. I'm gonna destroy my post. So then inside of here, we'd still find the post. So I'm probably gonna move this into a before action. Do like a before action set post, and I'll put this down in a private section. Set post, and we can define this as an instance variable, and then we have to update where we're calling that. And then inside of destroy, what we're going to do is we're going to find the post. So we'd say, instead of find or create by, we just say find by post.likes.find by, and then we could use the like ID. So really it would just be ID, although I think that's where we don't really need the like, because hypothetically there should only be one like, right? One like for the user for a post. So passing in the ID doesn't even really make sense to me. But we could also handle, just in case for whatever reason there was multiple likes, we could just do a where we find all the likes and then we just destroy them all. Simply as that. We just say destroy underscore all. And then boom, update UI again. So now for handling the update UI, all we really need to do is just re-render this partial, and that will update the UI. So we're probably going to need an ID to target. So I'm just going to wrap all this content in a div, and I'll put the ID on there. You know what? I'm going to use a method called DOM ID. We'll create a unique ID for whatever kind of item we're using. So we're going to use the post, and I'm going to put in a key like, and it'll combine this together to create a unique ID. And then inside of our controller, we can target that. So what I'll say is I'll render TurboStream. It'll be TurboStream.update. We're going to update an element with this DOM ID. Now in the controller, you don't usually have DOM ID, so we could just include action view : record identifier, and now we would be able to use DOM ID. So we'll target that DOM ID, and then we'll just pass in a partial, which is going to be that like partial. So that was back from the feed page. So we'd say feed/like, and then we're going to pass in our locals. So the locals that we have is the post, which would be @post, and then the user, which would be current user. And I think this is all we need. So I'll just copy this, put it on both sides, and that should really be how simple it is. So now if we click, boom, we like the post. If I click it again, we unlike the post. And if you look in the terminal, we have two different things happening. We created a like and we deleted a like. So just like that, we added the like functionality to our app. I can scroll through TikTok, like the posts that I like, don't like the posts that I, didn't love. Yeah, this was crazy. This is a crazy episode 3 for the series. I hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate all of you. I know you're hyped to see this type of video because who else has built TikTok with Ruby on Rails? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I hope more people start making Rails channels because I want people to know how awesome Rails is. In my opinion, Ruby on Rails is the best programming framework out of every programming framework because it's just so easy. It's so fun. I feel like I could be in here. It's like literally like playing with Legos or like playing with something that's just fun to use. Compared to React, it's like, ugh. What would you rather do? Would you rather be smart with your coding or stupid with your coding? I don't know. I love all you guys for watching. If you're watching, then I know you're a cool guy or girl. So yeah, leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see next. And let's get it. So proud to release this new video.